Hey guys, and welcome to the FitPro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burley.
Good morning, everybody, or if you're listening to this in a future time, good afternoon, good evening, good really late night, whatever it is. But yeah, welcome to this week's FitPro Social with myself, David, and obviously Ash. Ash, how are things? Oh, Ash, you're on mute.
It's a weird thing that is streaming off. For some reason, I don't know why I forget, but it just started putting it on mute automatically. So I must remember to
I think
turn that off.
that was the same last week, wasn't it? Where the first 5 seconds you were talking, you were like, you had such great content, but no one could hear you.
No one could hear us. It's a shame, isn't it? All missed out. I'll have to try it again another day. You never know. But yeah, all good this week. It's been a good one. We've just had our quarterly review. So everyone around here and talked about what after this last kind of the previous quarter, but also we use this time to plan for 2025. So we've got some really cool stuff happening. So yeah, it's always nice and positive. I always think when you do those kind of meetings with the team, you just hopefully, if things are going well, you come out quite positive for the year ahead. So we've got a lot of cool stuff ready for 2025. So yeah, I'm quite
excited.
I
think must be something in the air. We went to see the accountants this week for our end of financial year stuff.
Yeah,
it's always fun going to the accountants, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, hopefully, yeah. Well, hopefully it is for most people. Eventually it gets there. I think sometimes it can be a bit scary the first few times you do it in business, but normally it's a positive thing. And, it's always never nice when you get those bills through sometimes and you know what you got to pay. But the way I always look at it is, if you're in profit and if you're paying a tax bill, it means you're in profit. So you're doing all right. That's the way I kind of look at it. I suppose it's just how you think about it, how you look at it, and I suppose aptly, how your mindset is towards that kind of
thing. Yeah, it's crazy. So just to give everybody context today we're going to talk a little bit about the biggest threat to your business, and that really is your own personal mind. It's not TikTok, it's not your competitors, it's not the energy crisis, it's not the big budget that's coming up, was it 2 or 3 weeks away now? Yeah, it's none of those things. The things that you have no control over, they're not your biggest threats to your business. What is the biggest threat really is your own personal mind.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting thing when I'm working with our clients over at PT Ninja. One of the first things we talk about is this thing we call a focus period. I'm not going into too much detail about what it actually is, but effectively it's where in a nutshell, it's the areas that you spend most of your time at what stages of your business. And interest to the thing at the bottom of that pyramid, the foundation of that pyramid, it says you. That's all it is, just you. And it is that basic concept. Unless you understand you, unless you get out of your own way, unless you start getting that kind of entrepreneurial business owner mindset and start approaching things in a slightly different way, it doesn't really matter what you do up here, because eventually it's going to catch up with you and that pyramid will just start to collapse. So you really, the thing you need to work on first, I think, is you, and get yourself in the right headspace. And then when that works, you put a lot less barriers in your way. You really, really do.
Yeah, so people can say when they say social media is really bad, I jump on there and all I see is negative this and negative that and negative this. That isn't social media giving you that. That's you yourself going on and reading that content. So for myself, when I log on my Instagram now, I don't see any negative stuff. All I see is marketing and gyms, because I don't go hunting for negative stuff. And when I see it, I say, I'm not interested. You can press the 3 dots and just say, not relevant, I'm not interested, or whatever, and that removes it. And if it's still popping up on your TikTok or Snapchat or wherever you watch this stuff, then simply don't go on it. You can live your life not on those channels. Okay. So for example, now there's one guy who started following me who just says gives terrible ideas and content to fitness business owners, and I just get really frustrated because what you're saying it just isn't true. Yeah, he's just making things up basically, and it was really frustrating me. So in the end, I just blocked him, because then I'm not seeing that stuff. It's not getting in my head, because when it was getting in my head, I was thinking about it. I was like, why is he doing that? taking away time from me actually doing my own tasks, which is a hint towards last week's episode. So if you want to go and learn about time management, go and listen to last week's episode. But that was taking away my own personal time to do my own work, because in my head I'm thinking about this random person who's spouting a load of rubbish. And even now I'm going on a mini rant because I'm so frustrated about what this person was saying and doing here.
I think that's quite interesting to talk about. There's two areas that I think we should dig into a little bit. I think we'll talk about the first one there about like not going on. If these things bother you on social media, just don't go on them. And I guess an argument could be, well, Dave, I use this for my business, so like, how do I not get on there? I was like, an interesting thing you can do though is you can use systems and processes to like, you can do exactly what Dave said there, get rid of them. Like for me, for example, I use social media for loads of our stuff. But I have a system and process for it. I have links that take me to the right things. And I've taught myself and have the systems in place to ignore everything else. I go there, do a job, go away. Go there, do a job, go away, and just treat it like a tool for my business. Because I think, kind of probably like Dave as well, if I didn't have a business, I probably wouldn't be on social media. I generally don't like it personally, but I use it as a tool. So I start treating it that way. And again, that's just the way you approach something. It's the way you think about something. If you start thinking about these things as tools to help you and build systems around those tools, so you don't have to run into the things that bother you, that get in your way, that annoy you, then build those systems out and start treating these things like tools. And I think the other thing that's worth talking about is you mentioned there the negativity and the positivity.
Yeah.
Easier said than done this, but negativity and positivity is not about the content being delivered to you. It's about how you perceive that content. So at the end of the day, you're perceiving it as negative, even though it could be very, very negative in general. It could be about something horrible that's going on in the world. But your feelings about that piece of content, they have no control over. It's not their fault you're feeling that way about that piece of content they put on there. It's your fault. You're deciding to feel that way, whether you have control over that or not. You're deciding to feel that way. I think that's an important thing to understand about negativity and positivity. It is literally just a feeling, and only you have control over your feelings. And that's something that can be worked on over time. I'm not saying it's something you can do overnight. I'm not saying I can give you this magical cure to be able to control the way you feel about something. I'm not saying that if you did get control over it, that some days that won't happen. Some days you will have good days and bad days with it. But it is something that can be worked on. It is just the way you feel about something. It's got nothing to do with them.
And it's massive. Like if we now take it offline and you talk about hanging out with your community, with your family, with your friends, with the people that you spend most of your time with, if they are all negatively inclined, might be the best way. If they're always just moaning and the world's doomed and they hate life and miserable all the time, then that is, as positive as you are, that is slowly going to seep into your mind and in your body and really start to drag you down. So you could be the most positive person ever, but then you start hanging out with these 5 or 6 people because they start interacting in your network and your friendship zone and everything, and then you start to turn down. And you see this all the time. You might have been a very quiet person going through school and all that stuff, and then you go to university and you get crowded in your halls with this group of 10 or 15 people, and you leave university like this bubbly, excited, motivated, like bouncing on leather. And that isn't because you went to university. That was simply because you hung out with those people every single day who interacted all in that way, and that kind of fed into you. So if your social circle now is full of miserable, moany, unhappy, hate life type of people, then you literally have one option, and that is to remove yourself from that position so you can go and find people who are more positive, happy, excited. Like, that's why you jump on this podcast and listen to us, because we're trying to be always happy, positive.
Exactly. Always happy, and always positive. It's such an interesting thing because I think a lot of people say, well, they're my friends. And like, yes, they are, but
yeah,
they might be your friends, there might be circles to go around, but you can remove yourself from those situations. I'm not saying don't be friends with them. There could be acquaintances, be whatever, but you can change who you spend the majority of your time with. So even if you have 1 or 2 friends who are quite negative all the time, you can start to distance yourself a little bit from them and maybe try and spend more time with more positive people. So even when you do get together with them in those other circles, at least you've got the majority of people that have a positive outlook on it. And what you'll find interesting, if you're positive and you've got a few other friends that are positive, and these 1 or 2 negative people start to mix with that group, you'll probably find their attitudes will start to change. It's very difficult to be extremely negative when there's a group of 5 or 6 people that are extremely positive. Just like it's very difficult to be extremely positive when you've got a group of 5 or 6 people that are negative. And if you can try and spend more time with those people that are being positive, you'll find you'll feel better about a lot of stuff. Even when you go on things like social media news and things like that, and you see these things that are not very that nice to see, you'll feel more positive about it because that's who you'll become.
Yeah, the perfect example is, let's say I really love football, and being in South Wales is full of rugby people. So if my network of friends started becoming heavily focused in rugby, which is something I knew nothing about or know nothing about, I can guarantee within 5 or 6 months' time, my knowledge of rugby, my enjoyment of watching rugby will massively increase because I'm now like in that zone of learning about rugby. Now, when we talk about in the zone as well, so you've got your social media now, and your studio is doing it. It's doing okay. It's getting by, but you're connecting with all these other fit pros, and you see this one fit pro. Oh wow, he's opened his second gym. Oh, he's opened his third gym, and depending where your mind is at that moment in time, you're either, wow, that guy's doing really good. How's he doing that? That's really good. I need to learn from him. Or, oh, look at him. I bet his parents give him all that money, or I bet somebody give him all. He's just a lucky person, or he's just in the right place. And there's two ways of it. Yeah, he might have been given all that money, or yeah, he could have been in the right place, but he's utilizing it. And if you're not seeing it in the positive lights, then that maybe is, like Ash said, something that we need to work on inside, because there is always a positive thing in everything going on out there. Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect example of actually how the power of positivity and the power of negativity can have on your approach to something. So you mentioned there, if you see someone that's doing really well, you can look at them and think, how are they doing this? How are they doing that? They've done really well. I'm so happy for them. Or you can look at it completely negative, like, oh, they're doing this, they have this excuse, is that excuse. And all you're really doing, to be honest with that negativity, is giving yourself excuses not to make the most of an opportunity that might be presenting itself to you. And I always find the more positive you are, the more, I wouldn't say the more opportunities seem to appear for you. I just think you become more aware of those opportunities and more.
That's definitely right. Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing. If you can have a positive outlook, you will see opportunities in pretty much everything you come across, and it will feel like almost you're just attracting all this stuff to you. But I think the way your brain changes, you just become more aware of it. You become more aware of those opportunities.
100% agree with that, and that's something I kind of notice all the time, because I'm always excited and positive and stuff like that. And like, to give you a quick example now, I could have seen Ash like, how's this online fit pro thinking he's like teaching people to do 100k in their fitness business? Oh, he's just another one of those random guys. Let's just dismiss him. But no, it was like, wow, how's he doing that? That's really interesting. Connected with Ash, spoke to Ash. Next thing you know, we're running a podcast together, we're mentoring together. And now, for a lot of you that who's going to see in a couple of weeks, we're going on fucking holiday together. Yeah. And that all was because I saw it in a different light. I'm not like thinking of bad of this person, this random person I've never come across before, posting kind of really extortionate things. But when I look into it and I start understanding the process and see how he does it, and I see that his clients are actually achieving these results because of his formulas, I'm like, wow, yeah, I can really see how that works now. Connect, and you start building your relationships from there. So it really is tough. Like, I don't want to like make out like everything's super easy and it's always like sunshine and rainbows, as they say. It really is tough. Like, just think, I put it up last week. I lived in my gym for a year. That was tough, but I'm always a positive person, so I always look at it as like, this is exciting. Yeah, this is like a little mission. This is kind of like something cool. This is something different. It wasn't, oh, I'm going to be stuck in this gym forever. I'm never going to get out of this place. And once you start leaving those thoughts into your mind, you are really on that slippery slope of really going to start to struggle.
Yeah, it's something I play around with a lot. Like, you're always going to get things in life that are going to test you and push you, and you can generally be a positive person in a negative situation. And like I said earlier, it's really positivity and negativity. It's just about your approach. It's about how you approach that particular situation. There's no good or bad situation. There's no positive or negative situation. It's just a situation. And it's about how you approach it and how you feel about it. And I think there are going to be times where those negative thoughts can slip in, and there's different things you can do to try and I think to deal with those negative thoughts. I mean, sometimes when we've had it, I mean, we've had a bit of a rough year over the past year personally with stuff, and the whole moments where you're like, this is ridiculous, but there's moments where you look at it and go, well, actually, let's try and take this positive. Let's look at what it actually means for us and what it's done. And I used to use little trick. I know it sounds really weird. This, I don't know if you ever tried this or not, Dave, but when negative stuff comes in, I try and block it into a cloud and just imagine it's just a thought that comes through my head. And what I tend to do these days, if I can remember to do this, is to go, actually, everything I think, everything I do, I'm just observing it. So more than me thinking my mind is me, my thoughts are me, I always think I'm a person observing my mind and thoughts. And when you look at it that way, it's much easier just to focus on the positive sides of it than what it is on the negative sides of it. And to me, that helped me a lot with when we've had ups and downs with things in the past. And I think those kind of little tricks and tactics, I think people have different ways of doing with it. That's just something that worked for me. There might be different ways that Dave does it. There might be different ways that other people do it listening to this. And if you do have different ways of doing this, just share it in the comments and let us know. But I think when you can start doing that, it allows you just to take responsibility for your thoughts and your feelings. And you will find that the more you practice doing that kind of thing, that even in those worse situations, you'll still start to have a positive outlook. And I think that's where the test is. I think that's a good test of mindset, because most people can be positive in a happy place. To have a positive outlook in a place that's not that happy is difficult to do, and that takes practice. And I think that's something that I think every entrepreneur, every business owner could work on, because if you start approaching even the negative situations in a positive light, you will see opportunities, you'll see ways out of it, you'll see the good in this that you can utilize, and you'll start approaching that challenge in a much more positive way, and you'll probably be able to get out of that situation much quicker. That's what I find anyway.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, because or how the sayings go is, if you're in a difficult place right now, go and talk to people, go and share, go and reach out to people, and that is extremely difficult to do. When I'm having tough days, I don't really want to talk to anybody. It feels weird telling people I'm struggling. I think it's probably a guy thing, I'm struggling and I need help and whatever. So I take myself out of that situation and go and do something different. So that might be going for a run, going to the gym, taking Hank for a walk, putting on an action movie, just taking myself out of that real dark place, so my mind cannot keep working on itself. So if you've got this thought in your head and you stay in this one place, then that thought is going to fester and grow and get worse and worse and worse. But if you can take yourself out of that zone that you're in right now, and the perfect example, I knew somebody once before that for every sales call, he would do 10 burpees. So literally seconds before the call started, he'd 10 burpees, and then his heart would be pumping, his head would be focused, he'd be ready to go for that call. And I'm not saying if you're in a terrible situation, I'll go and do 10 burpees, but think of ways that are going to distract your mind, that are going to get you thinking about other things. It doesn't have to be business related, it doesn't have to be family related or friend related or completely different. So for me, I'll put an audiobook in, go for a run, and because my mind is now so focused on what's happening in this book, my mind goes blank. Yeah. And then all I'm thinking of, oh shit, I need to now run back 3 miles. Why did I run so fast?
Why did I run with this? That's such a cool idea. The changing of environment can be really useful, I think, in when you're having those kind of bad moments, like taking a minute to move away. I think it's something we don't do sometimes. I think when there's a lot of pressure, when there's maybe a lot of stress, it's very easy to think, I need to try and get this done. And I'm sure many people have probably experienced this, where you've got a lot to, you've got to get something done. You're worried about something. You feel like you're in this negative situation, and you just sat there staring at your screen, thinking, I don't even know what to do. So you just do things, and you're probably doing stuff that's probably making it worse, like doom scrolling and that kind of thing. And one of the best things you can do is, like Dave said, just change that environment. Like for me, I'll go climbing. I might go down to the climbing gym, or I'll go out into the peaks for a walk somewhere. I'm lucky enough to have it nearby, so it's not too far away. But changing that environment, whether for a few hours or even just for a day, means I'm not thinking about that. It makes me realize that I don't know. Every time I do that, I realize that this situation will pass. Everything, positive and negative, is temporary. My wife says this all the time to me, Sarah. Everything is temporary, and there'll be a thing. You'll go through the situation now, and in a week's time, a month's time, a year's time, you will not even remember that
Yeah,
shitty
yeah, yeah.
situation you're in at the moment. You won't, and it will pass. And giving yourself that space to go away and do something like listen to an audio book, going on a run, going to the gym, going for a walk, do whatever it is, that will give you that space to think about it, and then you can start approaching things in a much
Yeah.
better way.
It's real horrible to think about, like when you lose somebody and you're in that dark place and you kind of want them back and everything, and like time, like I say, time really is a healer, but you need a certain length of time. For some people, they could get over it within a month. Some people, it could take 6 months, a year to 2 years. But in that time period, you need to work on yourself and make sure that you are progressing forward. Because unfortunately, the world isn't going to stop for you. The world will naturally just keep going. And I know we could be in a real bad place. For example, you haven't been saving your taxes, you just haven't been calculating them. And like I said, at Stats episode, we went to the accountant this week. He told us what the taxes were. And because we'd already been, we save every day. So every day, a certain amount goes into our savings account automatically. So we don't see it. Another psychological trick.
Yeah.
But like, if you go to the accountant and he turns around and says, you know what, Dave, your bill is, I don't know, let's just go 10K. And you need to have this paid by January the 31st or whatever it is. And I'm thinking, shit, how the hell am I going to find 10K in that period of time? And you start panicking and worrying. But when you just stop for a second and think, 10K, what needs to happen? Okay, so if I divide that by the number of days until I get to that point, if I divide that by number of weeks or months, okay, so January is only what we are, October, November, December. So 3.5 months. Okay, so we're talking 90-ish days. 90-ish days times £100 a day is getting close to 10K. Okay, so where can I find £90, £100 a day from? And then you start doing all these things and you start breaking it up, and things then suddenly become easier because you've started to work on, you start to deal with it. And like we said, if you've got this collection of friends and all they're doing is negative thoughts, negative thoughts, negative thoughts all the time, then maybe a start is muting that WhatsApp chat so you're not getting pinged all the time with terrible news and stuff. Like a couple of weeks back, I was watching all these YouTube channels about how terrible the government is, how much they're going to screw small businesses over, how much the taxes are going to go up, different areas they're going to whack you with VAT and on all these other things, and pensions and national insurance and all this going up. And I was really sinking into this dark hole, and it was really affecting me. And I just thought, Dave, come on, just unsubscribe from these channels. Like, just stop watching YouTube videos here. It's not good for you. And then you start, a couple of days goes past, and like Ash said, you forget about it. It was never in your mind at that moment in time because you've moved on.
Yeah, and I think these little tricks are quite useful. There's lots of little tricks you can do, and I think half of that is understanding what's working for you and what's not. And I think this kind of idea of looking at news sometimes, looking at things on social media sometimes, depending on how your algorithm is pushing things towards you, can take you down those rabbit holes, and it compounds. Surrounding yourself by people again who are negative, again, it all compounds over time. And I think we can maybe look at some of these different tricks that we kind of come up with to help deal with those kind of things, just like Dave talked about there. So one quick example before we dig into some others might be, like for me, I know that if I've got meetings in the evening, late on in the evening, I struggle because I'm always time watching, so I'm not as effective. And sometimes I think, oh, I need to get this done, I want to get that done, so I don't do it. All my meetings and time face-to-face time are in the morning. So yeah. I deal with all those in the first half of my day. So in the afternoon, I know I've got a clear cut to get and to focus on the things I need to do. Just doing that, my stress levels just dropped massively.
Yeah, that's such a unique one. I'm just thinking back now to my employed days, and you know, when you work shifts, and then you'd be working at 12 till 8 or 2 till 10 or something, and then all morning you're just thinking about, oh, what time do I need to leave? Do I need to get my lunch ready? Should I go to the gym beforehand? Can I play PlayStation for an extra 10 minutes if the traffic's good? I'll be able to get there. And like all these small things are just working away in your mind. Yeah. So next, let's talk about a few other tricks as well then. Hey guys, we're going to take a real quick break here now.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. So if you're loving this episode and want to listen more often, then please make sure that you like and subscribe by clicking one of the buttons around wherever you're listening or watching this right now.
Perfect. Cheers for that, Ash. Let's get back to the episode. Yeah, so where should we start? I think the end goal is obviously going to be the big thing. So if the business is not in a great place, where is that great place? If the finances are not in a great place, how much is it that you need to get to that place? Obviously, if the worst situation happens with family and friends, then the place is to remember them positively, with a smile on your face, and not taking you down the rabbit hole again. So I think thinking of the end goal, where it is you want to get to, is that starting point. So I know earlier we talked about, oh, look at him, he's just opened his second studio. Probably his dad gave him all that money, or he was just in that lucky place. Then just think about it as, I would love to have my own studio. What do I need to do to get my own studio to be just like him? He found a location. Okay, let's start with finding the location. Then we look at the numbers, and you just start building it down. And then before you know it, the gap of getting to where you want to get to isn't ginormous. It's really condensed down, because if you tick this box off, that then moves you on to the next box, which moves you on to the next box, which moves on to the next box. And yeah, it's yeah.
I think that's an important thing to think about. We've talked about this before, about the importance of goals, your own personal goals, and where you want your business to take you to, and the idea that your business is a tool to help you go and achieve those different things. And that's really what your target should be based on. And I think once you understand that, whenever you're looking at those things that you mentioned there, maybe on social media, maybe reading the news, a lot of the things I tend to look at is me absorbing this information in the way I'm doing it. Is that actually moving the needle towards where I want to be? Is it actually helping me do that? And I can then make a decision, like, do I need to be watching this thing on YouTube? Do I need to be paying too much attention about this? Perfect example is the budget that's coming up. Like, I could read all these different news things and all this kind of stuff here. And yes, the budget is going to affect our business in one way or another. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what I read on the paper, what I see on the news, what I see all these experts talking about. No one knows anything because the budget's not out yet. The only thing I need to care about is what my accountant sends me when he's worked out what that budget is going to affect on my business. So everything else I forget about. I unfollow, I unsubscribe, because I don't want that negativity. And I think it's important to try and focus on the things that are going to really move the needle the most for you. And if it doesn't, it's not going to have any effect on you or your business or your life, then just don't bother with it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I don't want people to think like this is easy. It is going to be hard, but it's a case of just putting the steps in place that work for you. And unfortunately, there's no steps to follow that work for absolutely everybody, because we're all on our own slightly different journeys. We all react to things in a different way. But I think the big thing to really come to terms with is the only person you have total control of is yourself. And also, most people watching this are going to be at similar levels. We're all at similar levels. We are all small business owners.
Yeah,
so what happens when the government make these budget cuts? We just have to adjust. Like, we can't pre-think about it. Where if we're a massive corporate multi-million-pound company, yes, you will be paying a lot more attention to the budgets, thinking like maybe we should get out of the UK or all this other stuff. But in the nicest way, all of us right now are not that size, and we can't change anything. There's no way we can move our company offshore, or we can just relocate the family, or just cancel a gym and go and build a new one in Spain where the tax rates are a little bit lower and stuff like that. You just have to adapt to that situation. So don't spend hours looking into what might happen and everything. Wait until it's confirmed, and then adjust. Because otherwise, you're just going to waste a load of time thinking of things. And like, there's a perfect one going on now where I think the other day, again, I shouldn't be looking in the news, but you still have an eye. I think they were talking about increasing on a putting national insurance on pensions or something. Was it? It was
national
going.
insurance on pensions on about going on, and I think employers national insurance on about going up as well. They're the two main things I think we're looking at.
What's happening here is the government are releasing signals into the industry, into the world, to see how negatively or positively people react to that thought. And if it's a negative reaction, the government will easily dismiss that. No, we were never going to do that. But if there's not so much negativity around that, then they'll probably release it. But if you spent a load of time researching, figuring out how that's going to affect my business and everything, and then the government realised, no, that's not a good one, that's not going down well, and you've wasted all that time on the wrong stuff, things that you have no control over, then it's going to eat away at you. It's going to slow your productivity down. It's going to really kill your profits in your business because you're not focusing on the business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think those kind of things you mentioned, you said that you have no control over at all. You can't do anything about at the moment. The only thing you can do is, when you know the facts, you can then try and do something about it if you can, but sometimes you can't. I think this brings us nicely on to, I think, a really important thing any entrepreneur needs to have, any business owner needs to understand, is that you are solely and fully responsible for everything that happens. Literally solely and fully responsible for everything that happens. I don't mean that as in like somebody can do something to you, you've got no control over it. What I mean is you have to be responsible for how you deal with that situation. And part of that involves trust. And this is a conversation I had with one of our clients earlier on this week, and was talking about trust. I think this happens as you gain more experience. I can't say it's going to happen overnight. I can't just say it's going to happen now. But I think this happens. I'm sure Dave would have had a point where this happens, is where the more experience you have, the more you do this. The only thing you have to do is trust in yourself. That's it. You don't have to trust what I say. You don't have to trust what Dave says. You don't have to trust what a software does. You don't have to trust what anyone does. You don't have to trust what the government does. All you have to do is trust that you'll be able to handle the situation that gets put in front of you, and you can deal with it in a positive light and try and get as much opportunity out of it as possible. And that only comes with experience. And I think there's a shift. And the moment you get that shift from, okay, I'm kind of worried about this, I'm blaming everything else, all these other things that happen to me, to actually, no, I trust myself. I trust in me and deal with the situation, and things will be a lot better for you.
Yeah, it's a tough episode to record because it's all personal things. Like we just said, that you have no control over anybody else, family members, kids, your staff. You literally have no control of them. They could just decide today that they're handing a notice in, and you're like, oh, okay, so I need to find a new staff member. Like, you did not see it coming. You have no control of it. It's all about how you deal with those situations. But just remember the natural way the human body works. It's fight or flight. And if you do want to, they're both the same. If you want to try and get things sorted, go and lift some weights, go and do some exercise, get those endorphins moving around the body. It's exactly what we tell our clients to do in the gym. It's exactly the same. Once you go and do that stuff, maybe you're super angry, so you go and smash some heavy deadlifts, and you go and work the boxing bag for half an hour, and you've got a massive sweat, and you've taken all your anger out and your frustration on the deadlifts and the boxing bags. I bet you will feel a lot better about yourself.
Yeah.
So
I love those little tactics. I think they're so cool. Like, just releasing some of that energy, then it allows you to focus better because you've got that kind of head up energy out of the way, and then it allows you to figure out actually what's really going on and see things for what they are. There's loads of cool things you can do. Like, even, for example, you mentioned earlier about the guy that was doing the burpees and things like that before.
Yeah.
I think it's just a cool thing. Not like Dave said, don't have to go and do those things, but the stuff you can do. Like, you'll notice now when I'm on calls like this or from my meetings, I'll always stand up. Because if I'm stood up, I could have a really shitty day. But if I'm here, I'm stood up, and it's going to sound really weird, but I will always stand up, because if I'm stood up, I've got more energy, I'm projecting more, I feel better when I'm stood up. And it's going to be strange. Even if I'm having a bad day, I will just smile. And just force yourself to smile. It's a physical thing. That's all it is. It's a physical thing. But force yourself to smile. And it's so difficult to feel negative when you're smiling, even if it's just a physical thing. So honestly, if anyone's feeling a little bit negative or anxious about something, you might look very strange, but don't worry about it. Just stand there and just smile for like a 30 seconds, a minute. And I promise you, you'll start to feel just a little bit better and you'll find it easier to go and deal with those particular situations in front of you. That's if you don't have time to go to the gym and beat the crap out of a boxing match. But yeah, there's lots of little things you can do.
I'm sure I was listening to one the other day, and it was saying the people that laugh the most generally live a slightly longer life to those that have more of a negative mindset. So again, if you just want to brighten up your day, just jump on YouTube and just chuck in like people hurting themselves and all that type of stuff, where they crash their cars or fall out of trees or their wheelie bins crashing into each other. Go and watch the things that make you laugh. Go and watch Happy Gilmore, or go and watch just things that are really going to brighten up your day, because that will quickly take you out of the funk that you're in. It will start clearing your mind. You might have a tear watching it, because your body starts to go from negative to positive to unhappy to happy. And maybe these are things that you need to release. And like you say, if you need to cry, just go and somewhere and just have a cry for 20 minutes. If you want to go and lift heavy dumbbells in your gym with the music full blast and no one there, and that's what gets you kind of away from that situation, go and do it. The last thing to do is just fester on it.
Don't fester at all. And I think the YouTube one's an interesting one, because I know a lot of people who will watch YouTube and they'll spend a lot of time scrolling through YouTube. And I can imagine people thinking, well, you see other stuff on there, you see ads getting targeted and stuff like that, but there's ways around it. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time on YouTube, and a lot of it was business stuff. And I'd maybe scroll through it in the evenings, and I get pulled back into work, and I think about whatever. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want some time for me. So I just created a separate YouTube account. I got the premium version, so I didn't get ads. And then I just made sure all I watched and followed was climbing videos, and it was comedy sketches. And that was it. So if you go on my personal YouTube, that's all it is. So now when I go on there in the evening, I don't get any ads on it, and I just look at the stuff I enjoy doing. And I might spend 10, 15 minutes on that, going through the little shorts or whatever. And I feel so much better from it all, so much better.
Is that until Sarah accidentally forgets to log out and she starts looking at like hair and makeup?
Yeah, she's done that a few times. Fuming. I was like, you messed up my algorithm. She's on my Spotify as well. It really upsets me.
Anyway, everybody, I appreciate you joining in today, whether you're watching this live with us or you're watching this on the follow-up. Any questions, as usual, do reach out and let us know whether you've got thoughts on this topic, whether you completely agree or disagree, whatever it is, we love to know, because this is what the FitPro Social is about. It's about bringing topics to light that maybe are difficult to talk about. Maybe they're awkward to talk about. Maybe no one talks about them, but we're here to share our experiences and give our thoughts on those topics. So, yeah, appreciate you all joining in. And Ash, I will see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the FitPro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.